Proto Coaching Chronicles Season 3, Episode 2, the series where you get to take a look inside Magic Draft Coaching. I'm Alex, joined, as always, by Nathan. Nathan, how's Adventures in the Forgotten Realm been treating you lately?
It's been a little bit of a roller coaster. You know, I had that 7-0 sealed start and then had a couple of good drafts and a couple bad drafts, and I think I'm 7 drafts into the format now. Yeah, 7 drafts into the format. I guess it won't tip what this record was, but I am 21-21 overall. So I'm 500, which I think is I would say it's probably below average where I'd like to be. You know, I probably want to be in this high 50s. I think I don't know what you would shoot for, but I think 50-50 is probably not where you want to be. So I'm looking forward to diving into another draft today and see where it all went wrong.
So last time we drafted Black Red, it was a pretty sweet Black Red deck. Have you been consumed by the clutches of Black Red and drafting it every single time like I have?
I tried to after we've had the last episode, and I don't think I ever had either enough of the threaten effects or enough of the sacrificed effects to like make it like a bomb one. So like my Black Red decks were just always kind of meh, like more of like a mid-range deck that kind of had some top end, but never had like the full power to really like be the true sacrifice deck. So I've actually pretty much only drafted aggro in this format, other than a few times drafting a white-blue deck, and I think I had a white-green deck, and those I really struggled with. But today I had a I'll just say red-based deck that I wanted to talk through and get some feedback on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you've only been drafting aggro, that's not an awful place to be. I think as we kind of step through the format's developed a bit, I do think there's actually some room for the slower decks that are trying to cast a bunch of 5 and 6 drop. You just kind of have to know the cards you need to pick up to survive the early aggro onslaught. But yeah, if you're biasing towards aggro, I don't think that's a bad place to be in the format. Let's just jump into this draft here. If this is your first time here, what we do is we have a little bit of a rating system for Nathan to track his own progress. So for each pick of the draft, we go through. Nathan tells me his pick. We talk about the pick. I give him some thoughts, and then I give the pick either a agree, as in yep, thumbs up, I agree with that pick. A disagree, as in, well, I don't think I would have taken that, but I think it's fine to take that there. Or a mistake, as in, ooh, I think that pick right there, that's enough of a, off-brand of what Alex would have done, that I think that it meaningfully impacts the remainder of the draft. So, obviously Nathan is shooting for as few mistakes as possible, and, I'm rooting for Nathan to have as few mistakes as possible as well. So, why don't we just jump into this draft, and already we have a pretty interesting pick on pack one between Delina and Battlecry Goblin, I think, are the two standouts here. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was really looking at You Hear Something on Watch and Clever Conjurer. Those are the two that I really...
Yeah.
Again, those are the two that really drew me in. Like I said, I was biasing towards red. I had good experiences last time with Delina, in the red-blue deck or the red-black deck that we covered last week. I thought it was going to be red-blue, but we pivoted. And so I landed there again and went there. I know you probably have a different thought here since you kind of teased it before the show.
Yeah, so I think I would certainly take Battlecry Goblin, and I think it's actually enough better than Delina that I think I would actually classify that as a mistake here. One of the cool things is that with the 17 lands data that we now have access to, now that game logs have actually updated, we're actually getting real data. You can kind of see where intuition lines up with the data a little bit. And, not to say I'm putting 100% stock in the data, but I was curious about this pick. My intuition said, I think Battlecry Goblin is better here. And I think I looked at the stats quickly, and it's like a good 10% better on some of the metrics, right? So it's actually pretty meaningful, right?
Yeah.
And it makes sense, right? 2-drop over 4-drop. They're both like must kill threats, but one of them's a 2, one of them's a 4, right? So I would start with the Battlecry Goblin here, but you know what? I think Delina is also a great red card. I don't, it's not a bad first pick at all, but I do think it's enough that I would classify as a mistake.
Yeah, that 2-drop can get haste too. It can turn itself into a 3/2. So
yeah, it's real nutty. All right, we move on to this pick here. We've got, decent threats. We've got a Targnar, we've got a Tiger Tribe Hunter, and we've of course got a Dragonsfire. So what's your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, you can see me hovering over that at the beginning. I was like, do I just, go with the easy Dragonfire removal? or I didn't have any experience at this time with Targnar, so I was like, I don't really know much about red green. I don't know if it's like, you know, some of the gold uncommons really do like line up well with their team, like their
theme, right? They,
their
like, really
theme, yeah.
yeah.
I wasn't sure if this one did or not. And I had zero experience with the Tiger Tribe Hunter, and I went with the Tiger Tribe Hunter just to try it out, to stay with, you know, the pack tactics. Maybe I could copy it. I don't think that the sacrifice effect is all that great, but 4/4 trample for 5, I went there. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I will certainly never dock you, you know, in my heart of hearts, I will never dock you for trying something out. But for posterity's sake, I will say I think this is another mistake because Dragonfire is just super efficient, super cheap, and I don't mind doing a Tiger Tribe Hunter. Fine 5-drop, pairs well with the Active Treason, Price of Loyalty, right? Because you can, like, it's actually a really nice combo there. You steal their thing, you sacrifice it, you kill another thing, but it's got the 5-drop problem is all, right? Like, you can't, you know, don't want to take too many 5-drops, and Dragonfire is just so good. It's just so cheap and efficient. It's hard to pass that one up.
Sure. What about, I mean, it's no-brainer between Dragon's Fire and Targnar for you?
No, I think just like staying monocolored is really valuable here. I like Targnar, and it would be my second pick here over Tiger Tribe Hunter. But I think there's just like, you know, the option of going into black-red or something after just taking 2 red cards is really appealing, even though I do like this card. So 2 mistakes in a row, but we'll carry on and see where we go from there.
That's why we're showing how the sausage is made here.
Exactly. All right, what about this pick?
Staying on color, I looked at primarily the red cards here, and I went with the Hobgoblin Captain. I've had good results with that. I liked it. It's a 2-drop, and I was already at 4 and a 5-drop.
Yep, totally agree with that. Staying color, premium 2-drop. Nothing really that I can say past that. I'm eyeing this Deadly Dispute here as like a potential wheel for that red-black deck, so that actually like informs me in a later pack. Well, there's, you know, Price of Loyalty that makes me really want to like take that because I know I'm gonna potentially wheel one of the sacrifice cards, or I should say, I'm noting this so that if I take a Price of Loyalty, pick 6, pick 7 or something, and this Deadly Dispute doesn't wheel, that means I should be red-green, or I should be, you know, red-white or something like that. So totally agree. But I think it's interesting to look at this pack, you know, for information.
Going back, there's a Delver's Torch there. Was that anywhere on your radar? I don't know much about that in this format. It's been effective against me, but I don't.
Yeah, so Delver's Torch is a card that I like in a very specific deck where you want to prolong the game and your main thing is venturing, right? You're just like all in. I am venturing. All my cards say venture on them, and I have flyers to put it on so that I don't have to keep re-equipping after I send them in. So it's a very specific place that I want the card. It is good there, but it's an arrow card, and I don't really like it. And it's not really a card that I'm happy to put in my deck just to like push damage, right? It's not very good at just pushing damage. It really wants to be doing the venture thing.
Got it.
All right, moving on to pick 4 here. Thoughts on this pack?
So I guess just to let the viewers in on some inside baseball, this is the second red-green draft I had done, and we had we went through the draft log, and at one point I picked the green dragon over the hill giant herd gorger, and you said, I think the herd gorger is meaningfully better than the green giant. And so I learned from that, and I picked the herd gorger here. Nice.
Yeah, excellent. So, you know, I think for me, the 2 cards that stick out are Hoarding Ogre, because that's like a reasonable 4-drop just to keep you in red. I do think that Hill Giant Herd Gorger is enough better, though. Like, it's just such a premium 6-drop in the format, which is kind of weird to say, premium 6-drop, like, especially coming from my mouth, you know, it's weird to hear those words, but I do, you know, this is definitely worth the 6 mana for sure. And kind of an aside here, this is a big picture thing. The 5 and 6 drops in this format, just, you know, tailing off of the Alex doesn't usually say this, is that they're actually really good. I actually like the 4 and 5 drops in this format, or sorry, the 5 and 6 drops in this format, like the Elderguard Hunter, right? I think it's called Elderguard Ranger. That's what it's called. It's like a 5 mana 4/1 with reach, and you make a 2/2 token. I really like that card for stabilizing you and for attacking too. I like the Swarming Goblins, right? 5 mana 4/3, make some goblins depending on your D20 roll, right? Obviously the Herd Gorger, the 6/6, the Earth Cult Elemental. I really like that card as well. Now, you're not going to prioritize these cards in your really aggressive decks, but they're good top end for a mid-range deck or a deck that creates a lot of treasure, right? So in some formats where it's like, you don't want to pick up this 6-drop, it's a little too early for that. They're all really powerful. The trick is that you need to prioritize the early cards as well. So if you have a bunch of 2s and a bunch of 3s, you kind of get the privilege of being able to play these more powerful cards. If you don't have those 2s and the 3s and you're just relying on, well, I hope I get there and I hope I don't get run over, you're going to end up with a little bit of trouble there. So I like the Hergorger, premium card in my mind, and yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Reading the Bard class.
I had to read Bard class. I'm like, is it legendaries? Yeah.
The million words on Bard class. So
as soon as I saw legendary, I'm like, nah.
Yeah. All right. So we move on to this pack. Thoughts on this pack?
I have also had previous experience with Loathsome Troll. I didn't really like it. Honestly, it went on the top of my library a lot. I just didn't think it was that great.
Yeah, no.
So I was trying to look between Barbarian, Goblins, and Knoll Hunter.
Yep.
I wasn't sure if I was definitely going to be green, so I didn't go with the Knoll Hunter, and I just stayed on color, and I took the Plundering Barbarian.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable, too. I think I would do that as well. I love this card. I think this card is... I wouldn't call it underrated, because I think people, are privy to the idea that this is a good card in the format, just being able to blow up artifacts, being able to ramp you to your 5-drops. Like, I was just talking about those 5-drops, right? It is a great card to come down early, trade with the 2, and then play a 5-drop, right? And so I think just, like, sticking with your red, not automatically being like, okay, I have green cards, I have red cards, I guess we're red-green. Even though this has intrinsic draw to you, like the Knoll Hunter is intrinsically, appealing because it's a 2-drop over a 3-drop. I think Barbarian's good enough, and that's what I would take here.
Before we move off of that one, this pick, what were your thoughts on Priest of Ancient Lore
good call.
Or the Frost Giant? I know you're not a big fan of blue in this format. I've learned that, my hard way and also off air. But what about those two?
Yeah, so I think that I like Priest. It's a good card. It's certainly a good card. I think I would just lean towards the green card or the red card. Like, if I were to take a non-red card here, I would take the green card because I think green-red is a stronger color combination than white-red, which is not... That's a recent development. I've come down on white-red as a deck in general, and I've come up on red-green as a deck in general. So just as that little, I like red-green more than red-white, that would push me towards wanting to take Knoll Hunter if I wasn't taking a red card. But Priest is good. Priest is definitely good. Rhyme Shield Frost Giant is kind of like one of those 5-drops I was talking about where it's like, yeah, that's actually, quite a good 5-drop. I think this is one of Blue's, more playable commons. But like you were alluding to, I just, don't find myself in Blue very often. If I was there, if I opened like a Mordenkainen or a Mind Flayer and I happened to want to be in Blue, this is a pretty playable card and I wouldn't be sad to have it.
Yeah, what was the format that there was just like a 4/5 that was vanilla that was good? I can't remember that one. It was a couple years ago.
That was Dowser of Lights in Guilds of Ravnica. Yeah, that body sometimes is real good. And the Ward 3 on this card is surprisingly irrelevant.
It's gotten me a couple times, I'm gonna be honest.
I'll be honest too, it's gotten me because I thought it was Ward 3 like 3 times, and each time I'm like, I can pay for my removal. No, I can't. I just lose on the spot.
I die. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, what do you like in this pack here?
So we can look at what I hover over, but I'm pretty sure I was looking at the Steadfast Paladin, the Improvised Weaponry, or the Ranger. I almost took the Weaponry. I did not. I thought this was kind of late for a Steadfast Paladin to be there, and we had the Priest on the previous pack, so I was like, maybe white and red will be open, so I took the Paladin.
Yeah, I think this is definitely more of a disagree than a mistake on my part. I would take the Improvised Weaponry here. I like both those cards, but just because like I would like to stay red as long as possible to keep my options open. Like, I think here is just like a big picture thing that I think we've touched on before, but it's just like as long as you can keep taking cards in one color, it's usually a good idea to do it. Now, I'll ask you here, did you feel like Paladin was like maybe a lot meaningfully better than the Weaponry?
I did.
Yeah.
I mean, where I've run into it, on the opponent's side in the past, it's been a house, especially if you can throw some sort of equipment on there and get the lifelink. It can change games.
Yeah.
I think I've run into hit with plate armor on it quite a number of times, and that's been brutal.
Boom. 5/5 lifelink. Yeah. So I think that it is a better card, but not by leaps and bounds. And I do value the first Improvised Weaponry pretty highly. Just like the times when you're on the play and they go, you go 2-drop, they go 2-drop, you go kill your 2-drop with Weaponry. Next turn I play a 5-drop. That's really, really good, right? I'm going to keep coming back to these 5-drops, right? If I can enable playing... There's that guy I was talking about, the Ultra Guard Ranger. Playing that ahead of curve. Playing even the the Herd Gorger ahead of curve. What a tongue twister.
Tongue twister.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the more powerful things you can do in the format, I think. So while, I'm never going to... again, I'm never going to look down or say, no, don't take that 2-drop here. I think that just because I would want to stay on color here and this is a good enough card, I would just take the Weaponry myself.
Got it.
All right, and we move on to this pack where really is only 1 or 2 playable cards. The Owlbear, you hear something on watch. We take an Owlbear. Yep.
So my question is, do I get an agree for that pack, or is that an irrelevant pack?
This one over here, or this? Oh, sorry, this one, the Owlbear pack.
There's literally nothing else. What was your second pick that you're saying you might consider?
Well, I would say that you hear something on watch is a playable card, but yeah, no, I think this is totally still an agree. I think there are options you could take here. Like, I don't know how unhinged you are, Nathan. I don't know where your mind might go. Maybe take Wizard Spellbook,
So if the whole pack was 7 Owlbears, I would still get the agree.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So I mean, a note on Wizard Spellbook. I actually think this is funny enough. I've been talking about black-red so much. I think this is actually a good card to play in your black-red decks if you have enough treasure. Like, both the, blue is, you need a lot of treasure to pull that off. But if you have that and have a lot of treasure makers, this is a good spell to cast, right? It's just like this really nice card advantage engine. So just for, if you're drafting black-red in the future, view this as a honorary black-red card if you're there on treasure. But totally agree on the Owlbear. No questions.
You're like that. On level 3. Like, I'm still trying to figure out level 1 here. Like, how do I splash this double blue card in my black-red deck?
Fair enough, yeah. All right, what about this pick here?
I think I just took another Herd Gorger.
Yeah, so I think this is a good time to talk about what your red-green deck is trying to do here. Or keeping yourself open to the options of what your red-green deck wants to do here. Because I have found that there are kind of 2 flavors of red-green in the format, right? There's the red-green low to the ground, low curve, beatdown decks, the pack tactics stuff, really enabling that. And there's also kind of like play your big stuff, right? Just like enable playing the big stuff, where you're playing the Death Touch, the 1/2 Death Touch, the Basilisk as your 2-drop instead of the 2/2s that attack well. And you're playing like Unexpected Windfall and Plundering Barbarian and the Weaponry we picked, or we were looking at, right? Just to make treasure to accelerate these guys out. And I think right now you're kind of towing the line between the 2. You could be either. And I think just, as we go forward, I think naturally you're going to trend towards one way, without, giving away any spoilers. And I think it's going to be interesting to see, now that you have trended that way, let's see what cards you want to prioritize, right? Because, for example, in the low to the ground version of the deck, you really don't want an Unexpected Windfall, but you would probably play this Dueling Rapier, right? In the other version, it's the opposite, where I actually really like this card. Gets you to your 6-drop on turn 5, maybe on turn 4 sometimes, right? And gives you a bit of filtering. So I think it's something interesting to think about going forward.
One last question on that pack.
Yeah.
The Guild Thief is still there, which is pick 8. That seems like a pretty solid card, right?
This has the quality of my most hated quality in a Magic card, and it's clunky. It's just it's a clunky card. Yeah,
it takes a lot of mana to get going, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's just I can see a world where this would be a good card, but I think the blue-black and blockable deck or evasion deck, I think it just doesn't have enough pieces to be consistently good. I've seen good versions of it, but it's not something I want to speculate on. It's more something I want to fall into if the pieces happen to be there,
Mm-hmm. You can see I put the white card in the sideboard there.
Yeah, smart enough. All right, moving on to this pack.
Take the Valor Singer.
Yep, I like that. Take a quality red card. Oh, look at that. What a treat. Target comes all the way back around.
That one wheeled, right?
Yep. Agree with that. And we get to... so here's that question about. Again, right? Now, of course, you were saying before, I've been talking on level 3. You're kind of feeling the format out a little bit now, so it's not like you would have in mind, which version of the deck am I? But for future drafts, of course, it's good in this position where you are giving your spells to ask yourself what deck am I trending towards? And we've got those 2 Herd Gorgers, an Owlbear, a Tiger Tribe Hunter, kind of some big stuff here, right? So I think what we take here is, if I'm right, the
I took the
Basilisk.
2-drop creature.
Yeah. I like that a lot, given your position. Now, I really like Bull Strength here in red-green, in the red-green pack tactics. I think they're just like, it's one of the strongest tricks. The strongest trick, right? But given the direction you're going, I think Basilisk is just a much better card, and I would say the opposite if you were in that other deck, right? So
if we had started the deck the way you did, which was you wouldn't have had the Delana and you wouldn't have had the Tribe Hunter. You would have had a Wildfire, or you would have had the Dragon's Fire, and you would have had the Battlecry Zombie Goblin. You would have taken probably the Bull Strength there then, huh?
Yeah, I think I might have leaned a little bit towards the lower curve version of the deck. Now, mind you, I actually like both of the versions of the deck quite a bit. I don't really have a bias towards either one. But yeah, I think my early picks would probably trend me down that path rather than the path you went down. So that's pretty relevant. Another relevant pick for your... Oh, yeah, by the way, for those first-timers here, if there's nothing conceivable that Nathan could take out of the pack other than the card he takes, that we give him an irrelevant for data purposes. I don't get credit for it. Yeah, exactly. And we get a last pick, Elder Guard Ranger, which is a card I like quite a bit. So that's kind of nice. All right, let's move into pack 2 here. Thoughts on pack 1? Do you remember what your thoughts were? If not, just tell me what it is today, Nathan, think.
I thought that my top end was fat and solid, and they really needed to prioritize low end.
Right. Yep. I'm in agreement to that. Even if you are that cast my big things deck, you definitely got to prioritize that cheap stuff. All right. Yep. What do you like in this pack?
Well, by that logic, I was only looking at red and green cards, and so I was like, well, I need a 2-drop, so I took the Null Hunter.
Yep, big agree on that. Like I was saying before, I do like Earth Cult Elemental. A little bit less when you already have, some good top end here. But yeah, just take a 2-drop. Even in the slower versions of the deck, this is still a fine card. Sorry, you're gonna say something?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, is Choose Your Weapon any good in this format? And then also, is the Dragon Turtle good in general?
Yeah, so Choose Your Weapon is fine. I think it's a fine card in your deck, especially in the more aggressive versions of the deck where you can really take advantage of the double, power and toughness. You really care about that. And then sometimes it kills a flyer, which is, not that relevant, honestly, because there's just, not that many flyers in the format. And... Yeah. People. A lot of the flyers are, taken up in blue's real estate space, right? And it's just not a very commonly played color. So it's mostly a combat trick that sometimes is a kill spell, which is fine. It's still a fine card. The Dragon Turtle is, it's a good card as well. Nothing premium, but if you think of Frost Trickster or Frost Lynx from previous sets, it's just a beefier, better version of that, right? It's nothing premium, but quality card.
I guess one more question on this. So I had one draft where I drafted Portable Hole, and it was terrible for me. Is it just bad in this format, or did I have bad luck with it? I mean, being only a hit 2 and below really kind of restricted me.
Yeah, so it's definitely a narrow card. It's a powerful card, but a narrow card. When you get to double spell on turn 3, I play a 2-drop and Portable Hole killing your 2-drop, it's very good, right? But yeah, you can certainly end up in games and game states where it's just not good. It has literally no targets or no targets that you care about, right? So I would say that it's best in a deck that it's almost a complementary removal spell where it's this is really good if I have other removal spells, but you don't want it to be one of your only ones because it can only deal with the small stuff. All right, moving on to pick 2 here, pack 2. What are your thoughts?
I thought this pack was a complete whiff for me, to be honest.
Yeah, nothing great.
Yeah, so I just grabbed the green creature on color for me, the Shepherd. I didn't think this was a particularly good fit, but I couldn't see anything else to speculate on.
Yeah, so I actually agree with this just because I think this is... so the cards I'm looking at here are Sylvan Shepherd and Bag of Holding, and You Find a Cursed Idol. Right? I would take the Sylvan Shepherd because it's a fine defensive creature. You Find a Cursed Idol is... main deckable. I think it's a fine card to play in your deck. I'm not prioritizing it, but you can play it. And Bag of Holding is interesting to me in this red-green deck that is trending towards playing more big stuff, because you don't mind a little bit of filtering as long as you have that early game covered, right? You kind of want to filter through those excess lands, or hit your land drops if you're missing some, right? So it's not a high priority, but it is a card that I've played in these slower castle your big stuff kind of decks. But I agree on the Sylvan Shepherd here. All right, moving on to pick 3 here.
Well, this was me. Yeah, I kind of snapped off the owlbear, but I was also kind of surprised at how much what I think is decent black is still in the pack. I mean, you have the
Yeah.
Drider up there, the Grim Bounty. I guess those are basically the only two really for me.
Well, Hybrid Hexblade's pretty good too, I would say, right? That's
Is
a nice
it?
little 2-drop in the treasure deck. So I guess I would say two things about that. One, it's still pretty early in the pack, right? It's only pick 3, so it's not like we're like super deep into it. Somebody, a rare and an uncommon are gone, so it doesn't really tell us too much. Second, I don't think we saw very much good black in pack 1, so I think on if I'm navigating this draft, I'm saying to myself going to pack 2, I'm probably going to see a lot of good black stuff in this pack, right? And that's actually an interesting note, just like in general, where if you're navigating a draft, say you're like having a little bit of trouble finding what the open colors are, really use your pack 1 to figure that out. Your pack 2 is going to be the opposite because the packs are going the other way, right? A lot of times I see people being like, "Oh man, why is black so open in pack 2? It wasn't open at all in pack 1." That's to be expected. That's just the flow of the packs, right? And I think especially because a lot of our gameplay is digital now, we kind of forget that the cards aren't just appearing in front of us, right? They're actually being passed one way or the other, right? And that's something we lose a little bit of that haptic feedback in a way in digital.
Let's say the owlbear wasn't in that pack.
Yeah.
What would you be looking at between like the jaded sailsword or the Bulette? I don't even know, or the Circle of Moon Druid?
Yeah, I really like Circle of the Moon Druid, actually. It's just like, it beats down well, it blocks well the turn, it comes down, blocks well the 2-drops. This is a really good card in your bigger version of the deck, honestly, where like you just want that 2/4 body on blocks on turn 3. And I would even say that I would take it over the Owlbear here if you already had, maybe 2 more 5-drops or something, or even 1 more 5-drop, where you do need to lower your curve, and the 5-drops have diminishing returns, even if that's our deck's game plan, where we're trying to cast a bunch of big 5-drops. So I agree on the Owlbear, but I would like the Circle of the Moon Druid to come back there.
Got it.
All right, thoughts here?
I mean, kind of just what you were just hitting on. I'm already thick on 5 and 6 drops. Where you can see I'm already culling them. Like wow, that's too many. So I didn't want to take the Swarming Goblins or the Herd Gorger, so I took the Javelier to try to lower the curve a little bit.
Yeah, I would say that that's a mistake in my books, because this card is good in like a hyper-aggressive red aggro deck. Not so good in... Honestly, not that good in the pack tactics decks, and definitely not good in your deck with a lot of top end here, right? It just doesn't really do what you want, where you really want at least a blocker with 2 power, so you can like trade. This doesn't trade very well. And like it doesn't attack particularly well either, right? It attacks for 1, which is fine, but I think I would just be on the Swarming Goblins here. Like I was saying, it's you're approaching like, I have too many 5-drops at this point, but you can take that into consideration, pick up, prioritize Barbarian, prioritize Improvised Weaponry, so you can cast these 5s early. And this is one of those 5-drops I was talking about, where it really does stabilize you. So you don't mind playing, 4, 5, 6 5-drops in this format if you have those cards that ramp you there. Because once you get there, they do stabilize you really well. So I would take the Swarming Goblins. All right, moving on to this one.
This is the reason I asked about that question, is you have the choice here between the Jaded Sellsword and Circle of the Moon. I took the Circle of the Moon Druid.
Yep, big fan of that. I think that's exactly what you want here. So big agree on that one. Moving on.
I did it again.
And I agree on that. Yeah, totally. Yeah, so we're getting all the pieces. Would love to pick up a few more pieces of cheap removal, some more of the Underdark Basilisks, some more tutors in general. But yeah, we're trending towards halfway through pack 2 here. We're already in a good spot to have a good red green deck by the end of the pack. Here's an interesting one. So
yeah, you're hinting at you'd like to get low creatures and removal. I don't remember what I hovered over to, but right now I would probably consider the Null Hunter or the Improvised Weaponry. I think I took the Null Hunter.
Yeah, I think that's what I would do as well. But I wouldn't mind a second weaponry here for the reason I was saying, where it's like that sequence of Killer 2 Toughness Creature, Caster 5 a little bit early. But I think that you just want a few more 2-drops just to be able to block early.
Just to clarify, it wouldn't be my second one. It would be my first Improvised Weaponry. I didn't take the other one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Ooh,
so
that makes things a little more interesting. Ooh, that's tough. I think I think you just want to lock in the 2-drop. Yeah. I one of the things about this is you can like double block with it, whereas this never deals with a 4 toughness creature or whatever. This sometimes does. And yeah, when you're lacking 2s, just take the 2. So agree on that one.
Okay.
All right, moving on to pick 8 here.
we finally get some removal. We take a pick 8 Hunter's Mark, which I thought was really
awesome. Late. Yeah, I love that card. It's one of the best removal spells in the set. Just like, I don't know if you've done this or it's ever been done to you, where you like, you attack with your 3/3, they line it up with a 3/3. They think they're gonna trade. You cast Hunter's Mark, giving your creature +1/+1, killing their other creature. You just get this 6/2 for 1. It is real good when that happens.
I don't think I've had that experience, but it's definitely been good otherwise. I think that pick was irrelevant, by the way.
Yeah, I think so too. Spike Trip is whatever. We might play that. I don't think so though. Moving on here, we get a dagger.
I took the spare dagger just because my understanding. You can actually correct me if I'm wrong on this. It would help my other creatures trade up.
Mm-hmm.
And my understanding is with the Basilisk, it can ping something with Death Touch. Is that true?
That's true. Yeah. That checks out. I guess I would say that I would want to have I don't know, somewhere in the market of 5 or 4 Death Touch creatures before I include this card in my deck. If you can turn this into a removal spell, it's really good. But I think currently with your only 1 Death Touch creature in the Basilisk, I think I would just be on the bag of holding here. Or even you find a Cursed Idol. So I would give this a discreet, but I don't think it's it's something that changes the course of the draft or anything.
Got it.
We take,
I think that one's irrelevant.
A filler green card. We take...
I think the last picks are all irrelevant.
Pick 12 here, we take, nothing, irrelevant card.
You can see me pressing Alt there to see what am I missing?
The collection, yeah. There's nothing in the pack, and you go for the collection button.
Yep.
All right, and we close up the pack, picking up probably an irrelevant card. And you're ambushed on the road. That's our last pick. So moving into pack 3 here. Thoughts?
I thought this was kind of a whiff again, other than the Plundering Barbarian. I thought that is pretty much, in my opinion, the only option in this pack.
Yeah, you say a whiff, but I'm pretty happy to pick this up here. This is exactly what I want for this.
I want the Bomb Dragon Rare or whatever in my color.
I would have preferred to open up an old Gnawbone or whatever that card. One of those sick
what is the
mythics.
Red Dragon? I don't even know.
Oh, it's a real good one. It's like a 6/6 Flying Haste with Fire Breathing. Yeah, it's real good. This pack.
I was looking at the Temple of Dragon Queen. I'm actually less clear on that. That's just basically fixing for you, right?
Yeah, it's a Shimmerdrift fail. It's an Evolving Wild, Shimmerdrift fail, whatever. Yeah. Got
it. I wasn't sure between that or one of the 2 4-drops at the bottom, the Hoarding Ogre or the Bard. I went with the Bard to try to pump some of my other stuff.
Yeah, I would just hit the land here. I think it's good to, I don't think this is a, completely out there pick, but I would just take the land as a disagreement here because, you want your mana base to be good as possible. Bard is a fine card, and it's actually decent in the, bridge the gap to my larger stuff kind of game plan. But I think your first copy of Evolving Wild / Temple of the Dragon Queen is pretty valuable.
Got it.
All right, moving on to pick 3 here.
Light on removal, I actually snagged the weaponry here.
Yep, I do like that. I think now you want to take that over the Null Hunter when you're not the super beatdown version of the deck with a bunch of bold strength and stuff. So, yep, I agree with that. Pick 4 here.
Yeah, there you go. Took the veteran. I didn't really see anything else.
Nothing too exciting out of this pack, so we just take the veteran. We do have some options here, though. Wow.
Yeah, I have 0 experience with critical hit. I know Dragon's Fire is solid. I have 0 experience with Bull Strength, and Spoils of the Hunt seemed like just a worse version of Dragon's Fire, so I took the Dragon's Fire.
Yep.
The Troubadour is also very good, but I thought I needed more interaction.
Yeah, I'll give you all the experience you need right now with critical hit. You shouldn't put that card in your deck. Don't worry about it.
Perfect.
It's a nothing. For the sake of being clear about everything here, I think critical hit can be an okay card in your heavy equipment deck where you are trying to one-shot somebody, but it's never a high priority. It's your 23rd card there. For you, in this spot, I would say that Dragon's Fire is by far the best card for you here. I think Troubadour is a powerful card for sure. But it's a little bit too in the middle, considering this deck is doing here, right?
Yeah.
Where this you play it on turn 4, it doesn't block all that well. You kind of have to trade it off if you're under pressure. Maybe you venture once or twice, but Dragonfire is exactly what you want here. Just survive the early game, get to your late game. So big agree on that. Moving on to pick 6 here. Who gets?
I think we're gonna get agree on this one.
Yeah,
I snap off your Battlecry Goblin.
Even in your slower decks, which you're not even that slow of a deck, you're just more of a mid-range deck, this card's just so nuts, right? Like, especially, there's just incidental goblins in this set that it randomly pumps, and it's just an army and a can on its own. So, agree, and, I'm thrilled to pick that up here.
Pick up another 2-drop here with a Null Hunter.
Yep, agree with that. Nothing super exciting. If you were the more press some damage version of the deck, I could see taking the You Come to a Null Camp. I actually like that card. Either, it's like a combat trick / those two things can't block. I attack you for 8 or whatever, and it's really good. I think what might be kind of interesting to some people is, if you're in this ramp deck that like wants to pass your expensive stuff, don't you want like Find the Path here, right? Maybe instead. But I think that this card is generally just not very good in the format. Like, the problem is it ramps you to your 5 or 6 or whatever, but you're taking the turn off. It's not like it doesn't gain you life or anything like some versions of this effect do. You like get a scry in, which is kind of nice, but I'd rather just play like a 3-drop creature to trade to get to my 5 mana rather than cast an accelerant. So in that vein, just take the 2-drop, something that you can trade off or attack with.
Yep.
All right, we get to pack 8 here.
Echoes of you from last week were in my head, so I took the Boots of Speed.
Yeah, I don't think this is like quite the best Boots deck, but it's definitely the pick out of that pack. Move on to the wheel here.
I think I started checking to see what I was missing from my collection because I didn't think I was going to play any of these.
Telling, right? Because this Unexpected Windfall would be on my radar here. As
it would be?
Yeah, actively want to play in this deck.
Okay.
So I would take
a mistake?
that. Yeah, I guess let's see what you do. I guess.
I took the Sudden Insight because I didn't have any of those in my collection.
Yeah, I would take that. And I'd be pretty happy with hoarding over here for the same reason.
I think I took the Sudden Insight again because I thought it was good on 4-drops.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh, we got a Circle of the Moon Shard. So
would you have played? Let's just, if we go back to that pick, do you think the Horde Ogre would make the deck?
I think so, with all your your top end here, just like casting your Herd Gorger eternally.
So I put the mistake for that too.
You pick up a Circle of the Moon Druid here. You pick up a Bullet, which is nothing too interesting. A Bull Strength, and we round out the draft with a Javelin here. So that's the deck. Let's move on to the build here. I would say, well, let's talk about the draft just quickly, right? I think if I'm going to give you a quick grade on that, I'd say you navigated pretty well. Your lane was definitely red-green. I don't see any other reason to be anything else, right? And as far as like the micro decisions you made, I think you made a lot of really smart ones, right? Like picking up the the improvised weaponry on that certain spot, right? Picking up the 2s that I've been hammering so hard on you to take, right? When there's like some more exciting cards in the pack, right? So I think your navigation for your lane was great. I think like the micro decisions were great. I think just in general, like, there were a few things in there that I would have done differently, but overall, I'd give you probably a B+ on this, right? Not quite in that A range, but definitely well navigated. Yeah. Let's get to the build though. What are your thoughts on your final version of the deck here?
So we were talking the whole time about which end of the spectrum was I think I did just land right in that middle because I have some top end and I have a ton of 2-drops in my opinion. So I think that we're at 41 cards right now. I think I ended up cutting the Bard as the last cut. I was already kind of heavy on that end, and I thought maybe I could eke out some aggro victories with so many 2s and 3-drops, and then if that stalled out, I had some top end beef up there. Yeah. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so I agree with cutting the Bard. I think that's one of the things I would cut. I'm kind of interested in the Basilisk up here. I wonder if there's a card I would take out for it.
Probably the Veteran.
Yeah, probably the Veteran. It's just, this is just literally, not literally a bear because you have the Boots of Speed there, but I think more times than not, the Basilisk is going to be a better card, right? Even if you are beating down, the Basilisk probably chips in for more and then blocks when you need it to. So it's kind of interesting if we talk about, which end of the spectrum we want to be in and the decisions that led us to where we are in this deck, right? I think, like you said, we're kind of somewhere in the middle where I would have personally prioritized a few more top-end cards like the Goblins, those times we saw it. I probably would have played the Elderguard Ranger, actually, now that I think about it, right? And that's a card I would be interested in here. And then in my ideal version of that, top-end deck, I'm probably not playing Bull Strength, right? I'm probably playing, the Basilisk instead, just as a defensive card. And I'm probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of 5, 6, 7, 8 top-end cards, right? You're on the lower end, I guess, basically, is what I would say. If you are to build it the other way, right, with the getting the 2-drops in, if you're winning with your 2-drops, that's your plan, I would be prioritizing stuff like Bull Strength in the draft. Or was that point where we could have taken the Bull Strength, to be fair, I think you were right to take the Basilisk at that point, but if you were going down the path of, I think I'm aggressive, it's good to prioritize the bull strength there, right? So just thinking about those micro decisions and thinking about what version of the deck you are, I think is really helpful.
What would you have played the Ranger over?
Good question. I think the Boots, probably. I think, like, Boots is just, like, not pulling its weight in this deck, right? I like Boots quite a bit, but it is better in a deck where you have a bunch of, like, small stuff that you want to haste out quickly, rather than big things that are just going to come down and they're going to be, you know, big threats on their own. You don't really need to equip them up. It's kind of cool to give them haste, but it's not worth the full card, I would say, in this deck.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That makes sense.
So, I'll send it over to you. What are some of your takeaways from this draft from this week?
I think I'm slowly learning the lesson of stay away from blue unless you have a real reason to get into it from the get-go.
Yeah.
You know, I've had, like I said, my subpar drafts were from that perspective. You know, I think, like, what am I, 7 drafts into the format? Something like that? No, yeah, 7 drafts into the format. I like it. I mean, it's pretty vanilla, but I'm enjoying it. There's, you know, it gets you back to the roots of, like, you know, you got to think through combat, especially when you have these aggro decks. You have to make an attack now that it's going to kind of pay off in a few more turns, where when you have more powerful cards, you can kind of make up for those mistakes with just card power. Whereas, you know, when you're kind of running lean like this, there's a lot more thinking to it that goes into it, which I like.
Totally, yeah. I think that a lot of it's really interesting. I feel like this format has been kind of you know, there's been some split opinions on it where some people are like, oh, this is awful, and some people are like, yeah, I like this back to basics, you know, kind of the roots of Magic kind of gameplay here, where I've heard a lot of people who really didn't like Strixhaven are like big on this set, and vice versa, where people who love Strixhaven were like, this set's not really for me, right? And I think Strixhaven was a lot about, you know, those like interlocking synergy pieces, the bigger picture, and like you said, this is more about thinking about each combat, really planning out your turns to see, like, what are my attacks going to be like in a few turns and stuff like that. And, you know, it's a different kind of Magic, and for me, I don't know, personally, I like that kind of Magic. Hey everybody, thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you want more limited content, links are in the description down below to all the great stuff you see on screen. Check out the podcast, sub to the YouTube for more great content, check out the Limited Level Ups Discord, and of course, contact me for coaching if you are interested. All right, see you next time.